Right now, somewhere in your house, there is probably a baby monitor, a small speaker in another room, picking up every breath, every shift, every cry from a child sleeping alone behind a closed door. Stop and think about how strange that actually is. We built a machine so a baby could sleep by itself, and we could still hear it. An entire industry exists to solve a problem that, for almost the whole of human history, simply did not exist. Because the baby was never alone in the first place. No crib in another room, no door, no distance at all. For 300,000 years, a human infant spent nearly every hour of its life pressed against another person's skin. Not occasionally, constantly. Because the moment it wasn't touching someone, it was in danger of dying. That single fact changes almost everything about what a human baby actually is. Start with the baby itself, because the baby is the problem. A newborn horse stands and walks within hours of birth. A newborn chimpanzee grips its mother's fur the moment it arrives and holds on. A newborn human cannot even lift its own head. It cannot walk for a year. It cannot feed itself for years. It cannot survive a single night without someone else keeping it alive. Of every primate on Earth, the human baby is born the least finished. The reason is the brain. A human brain is so large that if it grew to full size before birth, it would never fit through the birth canal, so the body made a trade. Human babies are born with brains at roughly 25% of their adult size, compared to nearly 40% for a chimpanzee. Most of that brain finishes building after birth, while the baby is completely defenseless. This is the deal every human is born into. The most powerful brain on the planet, attached to the most helpless body on the planet. A baby that couldn't cling, couldn't run, couldn't even stay quiet when something dangerous was close. In a world with leopards, hyenas and snakes, that baby wasn't precious cargo. It was a target with a heartbeat. So how did it survive the night? Not through one person, through many. A human mother never raised her baby alone because she physically could not. In groups that still raise children this way today, a single infant is held by an average of 14 different people across one ordinary 8-hour stretch, passed from one set of arms to another roughly 8 times every hour. The mother holds the baby about 40% of the time. The other 60%, the child is in someone else's arms entirely. Aunts, older siblings, grandmothers, neighbors, women with no blood relation at all, some of whom nurse the baby themselves. Fathers stay within arm's reach of their infants for close to half of every day. The baby was never on the ground. The baby was never not touching somebody. That wasn't tenderness, it was engineering. When early humans started walking upright, they lost the body hair that primate infants grip to hang on. A human baby has nothing to hold on to, so it had to be carried, wrapped in slings of hide and plant fiber, against a body, hour after hour, for years. And carrying did something physical to the baby. The instant an infant is lifted and pressed against another person, its heart rate drops. Its breathing steadies. It stops crying almost immediately. That isn't comfort in the soft, emotional sense. It's a switch. A crying baby calls predators. A baby that goes silent the second it's lifted is a baby with a better chance of seeing morning. Your own child still runs this exact program. When you pick up a screaming newborn and it goes quiet against your chest, that's an ancient survival reflex firing, the baby's body telling it, "You're being carried to safety now, so stay silent, so neither of you dies." Carrying kept the baby alive. Feeding it was the next problem, and the solution would unsettle most modern parents. There was no formula, no bottle, no water clean enough for an infant to drink safely. Breast milk was the only sterile, complete food available, and mothers nursed for a minimum of 2 to 3 years, often 4 or longer. This wasn't a parenting philosophy. It was the only option that existed. Nursing also suppressed ovulation, spacing out pregnancies, because 2 helpless infants at once meant the odds of losing both went through the roof. When a baby needed more than milk, there was no jar of mashed fruit on a shelf. Someone, a mother, a grandmother, whoever was holding the child, chewed meat or root until it softened, then passed it directly from their own mouth into the baby's, lip to lip. Saliva-carrying enzymes and immune protection straight into a body that couldn't yet digest solid food alone. Some researchers believe this is where human kissing actually comes from. Not romance, A mother feeding her child the only way she could. And then there's the part almost nobody expects. The women who could no longer have children at all. In most species, a female's body shuts down shortly after reproduction ends. There's no evolutionary reason to keep running a body that can no longer pass on its genes. Human women are the exception. They live for decades past that point. And in groups still living this way, those older women are often the hardest working, most productive foragers in the entire community. They dig food too tough for young hands to reach, hour after hour in the heat, and feed it to their grandchildren. Which means a mother could have her next baby sooner, because the last one was already being fed by someone else. In other words, the reason a woman's body keeps running for 30 or more years after it stops making babies might be the same reason any of us are alive at all. A grandmother digging in hard ground was sometimes the difference between a grandchild living and a grandchild starving. Here is the part that should sit uncomfortably with you. For nearly the entire history of our species, no human raised a child alone, not once. It was always a group, a constant rotation of hands, someone ready to take the baby the moment your arms gave out. In traditional foraging communities, a single child typically has somewhere between 5 and 15 people actively helping raise it every single day. In most homes today, that number is 2. Often it's 1. You're sitting in an apartment at 3 in the morning with a screaming infant, and nobody is coming. No grandmother down the hallway, no aunt in the next room, no neighbor who can hold the baby while you sleep for an hour. The exhaustion you feel isn't a personal failure. It isn't weakness. It's the result of trying to do, completely alone, something that was never once, not for a single generation in 300,000 years, meant to be done alone. The question was never whether one person could raise a child by themselves. The answer to that has always been no. The real question was whether enough people cared enough to keep that child alive. For 300,000 years, enough people always did. That's the only reason any of us are here to ask the question at all.